Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Lake County Stormwater Management, some recent planning efforts we've done within the Fox River Watershed in Lake County. First, I'm going to give a brief overview of the Manitou Creek Fish Lake Drain Watershed-Based Plan, which is nearing completion, and then I'll hand off the presentation to Sharene, who will talk about the Sequoia Creek Channel Improvements Project. Before I talk about the plan, I want to talk about why we did the plan. Within the watershed, there was a desire for clean water, healthy lakes and streams, and safety from flooding. But we also know that there's some issues within the watershed that needs to be addressed. We find that watershed is the appropriate scale to do that because it brings together all of the stakeholders who often have competing interests, and it's a collaborative way to come up with a plan to move forward and address the issues we're seeing. So our watershed planning process, it starts with identifying the goals and objectives of the watershed plan. So setting what are we trying to accomplish. And then we do what's called a watershed characteristic assessment. So that's looking at all the data that's available in the watershed and just get an idea of what it's telling us about the watershed. Then we do what's called a watershed problem assessment. So that's honing down all of that data and saying what are the major issues that are sticking out, keeping in mind what our goals and objectives are. Next, we come up with an action plan. So how are we going to address these problems that we're seeing? We also have a evaluation scorecard. So once the plan's adopted, how are we going to track implementation and make sure we're on track to accomplish our goals? And then we have another tool called a web mapping application, which we have at our table over here. I encourage you to go look at it during our breaks. It's just an interactive way, so you can search and address a specific location. You can see what actions are recommended and get a bunch more information as well. So just to help orient everyone, the map on the left, you can see the larger Fox River Watershed. We're focusing on two sub-watersheds within Lake County, Illinois. Both of these sub-watersheds previously had a watershed plan that was due for an update. And as we update these plans, we're combining them with the goal to have one watershed plan for all of the Fox River watershed within Lake County, Illinois. The goals and objective of our plan fit into 5 main categories, being water quality, flood damage and flood risk reduction, natural resource management, education and outreach, and coordination and partnerships. So during our watershed assessment, we looked at a lot of data, being topography, demographics, transportation, what are our natural areas, what units of government are present, what are environmental interest groups, just getting all of that information to help characterize the watershed. Next, we did what are called watershed assessment field inventories. So that's actually physically going out in the field, collecting qualitative data. So we walked 38.7 miles of stream, looking at anything from stream bank erosion, channelization, the condition and location of hydraulic structures or discharge points, any dumping sites that should be addressed, just basically taking a snapshot of the stream as we walk it. We also looked at 275 detention basins. So that's walking the basin, documenting what infrastructure is present and any issues preventing the basin from functioning as designed. Then for lakes, we did a shoreline erosion assessment. That's taking a boat out with an iPad and taking pictures and documenting the erosion that you see along the lake. And we did a riparian buffer analysis. That is a desktop analysis where you look at aerial photographs and you measure the width of the vegetative buffer. So next we moved on to the problem assessment. So what were the major issues that were sticking out to us? One of the bigger ones is that there are quite a few water quality impairments within this watershed. So most of the lakes within this watershed are impaired for aesthetic quality. 3 of them are impaired for aquatic life. And the most common cause of impairments for these lakes is total suspended solids and phosphorus. Another big issue is the streams don't have good water quality data, and that's reflected in the fact that the Illinois EPA has not assessed these streams for their designated uses yet. Another very common issue when we do these watershed plans is impervious cover. In general, as impervious cover increases, so do your water quality and water quantity issues. There are some ways to mitigate that, but it's a pretty good indicator of what kind of issues you're going to find. Specific to this watershed, you can see the northern portion has much more impervious surfaces, but the southern portion of the watershed is much more open space. But when we look at future land use projections, we see increases in land uses that are typically associated with higher amounts of impervious surfaces, and much of that decrease coming from open space. So what that looks like, if you look at the map on the left, that's our current impervious cover by catchment. To the right will be what the predicted impervious cover by catchment in the future. There's a general trend throughout the watershed of increasing impervious surfaces, and so that's something we have to keep in mind throughout this watershed planning process. Another way to kind of prioritize actions and pick out specific areas to focus on is critical area analysis. One way we did that is through pollutant load modeling. We hired a consultant to do a pollutant load model of the entire watershed. And then we asked them to pick out the areas that are disproportionately contributing total suspended solids for the watershed. Since that's a major cause of impairment, we wanted to just like find the areas to really focus on reducing total suspended solids. Another common cause of total suspended solids is erosion. So we took that field assessment data and found 5.4 linear miles of lake shoreline and 15.7 miles of stream bank that we also identified as critical areas that should be addressed. Additionally, we did a flood problem assessment. So that's just looking throughout the watershed, seeing where known flood issues are occurring, and then also looking at what structures are at risk of flooding during a major flood event. So then we take all of that information and we put together an action plan. So how are we going to address all these issues that we're finding? There's two types of action plans, one being programmatic and the other site specific. I'll get to that a bit in the following slides. The map you see right here, this is the site specific action plan. On a stationary map, you can kind of get a general idea of what we're recommending, but this is where that web application that we have over on the table over there is much more useful. You can zoom into a specific address or a specific location and select those projects and get a lot more information about, for example, what the pollutant load reductions of implementing that would be and some estimated costs as well. That web app's also available on our website, so I really encourage people to use that. It's the best way to look at these plans. So moving on to programmatic action plan, these are going to be regulatory and policy recommendations. So think this isn't something that's going to focus on one spot in the watershed. Instead, it's going to apply to the entire watershed. One example of that is the development and implementation of a watershed monitoring program. Right now, we don't have good data for the streams, so we want to get that data. We want to make sure there's no impairments that we're not aware about. And then also that data is very helpful while you implement these projects, because you want to make sure they're having the intended effect. And if not, you adjust your plan accordingly. Another example of a programmatic action would be banning the use of coal tar sealants or other sources of PAHs within the watershed. So next is our site-specific action plan. So that's going to be pointing at the specific place or address and saying this is the action that we are recommending in this location. For this watershed plan, we recommend 754 projects with a cost range of $86 to $201 million to implement all of them. And then next I'll go over a few of the categories that these plans or these action recommendations fit into. We have 5 miles of stream restoration recommended, so that's re-meandering channels, reconnecting them to the floodplains, establishing and enhancing riparian buffers, and also in-channel enhancements such as installing riffles or other habitat structures. We also recommend 19.4 miles of stream bank stabilization, so really addressing the eroding stream banks that are throughout the watershed. And then there's a handful of debris jams that also we are recommending for removal. Next, we have a series of actions related to agriculture, all with the main goal of keeping the nutrient sediment on the fields and out of the waterways. That's mutually beneficial for the agricultural landowners and the surrounding community. We also have a number of action recommendations for wetland restoration. So that's the creation of new wetlands. That's a major priority within Lake County. We have a separate wetland restoration and preservation plan. that we can also make available. I encourage everyone to look at that as well. And then we have some detention retrofit recommendations. So if we saw a basin wasn't functioning properly, we recommended the remedial actions to get it to work as designed. We're a Stormwater Management Commission, so we also have to address the flooding. So there are some recommendations to repair damaged stormwater infrastructure and drain tiles. Also some hydraulic restoration and regrading of floodplains to increase floodplain storage. And where appropriate, increasing the capacity of our existing stormwater infrastructure. Next, we had a series of actions related towards mitigating the effects of the impervious surfaces. One way we accomplish that is through the runoff volume reduction. So that's anything from rain gardens to bioswales to permeable pavements or green roofs, really with the goal of keeping the water where it lands, helping infiltrate into the groundwater and finding opportunities to preserve and enhance our natural biodiversity within the watershed. Another way we address the impacts of impervious surfaces is through road salt management. So those are actions just focusing on keeping chlorides out of our waterways. So as part of the site-specific action plan, we calculate the pollutant load reductions we expect if we implement all of them. As you can see, even if the entire site-specific action plan was implemented, we don't quite meet our overall goals for that watershed. It's important to note, though, that we also have that programmatic action plan. And if those programmatic actions are implemented, they have a very real impact on water quality. It's just much harder to quantify in a plan like this. And then also, this is a 10-year plan. So these impairments didn't come to be in 10 years, and they're likely going to take more than 10 years to mitigate. And it's not an all or nothing game. Any progress is real progress. So I think we came up with a pretty ambitious goal. And as we accomplish that, we'll update the plan and continue to work towards our ultimate reduction target. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Sharene, and she'll give a quick overview of the Sequoia Creek Channel Improvements Project.
Thank you. Now we would like to share a somewhat recent example of project implementation in the Fox River Watershed in Lake County, Illinois, that aligns with watershed planning goals. The Sequoia Creek Channel Improvements Project was completed by the Village of Antioch in 2024. SMC provided $2.75 million from a larger grant from the state of Illinois through the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, and the village was responsible for the rest of the project costs. I recently saw some other sources note the overall project cost at being over $12 million, so actually slightly higher than what I have listed on the slide here. Before the project was completed, the area was formerly a car lot, and in 2018, SMC staff became aware of a sinkhole that had developed on the property as a result of the culvert deteriorating that was carrying Sequoia Creek underneath the property. The issue continued to develop, and the village created a plan with their consultants to improve the site that included the daylighting of Sequoia Creek. In other words, taking the stream out of the underground conveyance system and restoring flow to an open channel. SMC was awarded funding from the state of Illinois for regional stormwater management projects in Lake County through an appropriation in the state budget. And since the village's plan had significant stormwater components to it, this project aligned well with SMC's funding priorities. The Illinois State/SMC funding from the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity went towards some of the project's engineering and stormwater components. When the project was completed in the summer of 2024, the village dedicated the project as Sequoia Creek Park. The completed project included stream bank stabilization with native plants, and the site is now a multi-purpose space for the community to gather. Some of the park amenities include an accessible playground, overlooks, a stone footbridge, concession area, gazebo and concert seating area, bathrooms, and walkways. The resolution of some of these photos is a bit reduced, so if you would like to see additional drone footage of the project site, I recommend stopping by our table over here to see additional footage. This project is a great example of a multi-objective project that not only addresses stormwater and water quality issues, but also other community goals. Here we have some links to additional information, as well as our emails if you would like to contact us and follow up about additional information or questions. You can also stop by our table for additional information or to pick up our business cards. And now we'd like to check if we have any time for questions.
2 minutes.
Okay, any questions?
So we have a number of grant applications that we have submitted to the Illinois EPA. One off the top of my head is we're looking to do the rest of the Fox River Watershed for planning. And then we also have some 319 grant applications as well, one being for Timber Lake. Communication has been sparse, but they're very busy. And everyone's dealing with some tricky funding situations. But we have generally heard positive feedback. They're still moving forward with their grant programs. But we do not have any official awards for Illinois EPA that I'm aware of at this time.
So for downtown Antioch, like by the high school, which direction is this project?
So this is basically in downtown Antioch. Are you familiar with there's like a theater? Yeah. So this is adjacent to their main downtown strip. So it's part of that whole downtown corridor. Yes.
I want to commend you on your efforts there. I'm in McHenry County, and I'm also on the McHenry Lake Stormwater District, and your community efforts. I just want to point out to everybody, there is funding available for the Federal Farm Bill program to do some of that farm work, and you can create permanent buffers along those streams, so when it gets developed, you've got green space. Take advantage of those programs. The other thing I want to commend you on is the idea of just tell the homeowners, don't go all the way down the water line. Leave a 6-foot buffer on mowed grass. That in of itself helps improve water quality. Just don't mow as much. So I, again, really commend what y'all doing.
Appreciate that.
Little plug for the Fox Waterway Agency. You couldn't even canoe or kayak where that culvert ended up in the Sequoia Creek. And our team did a great job of dredging out that particular area where there's some flora and fauna developing really nice. And we did that on one end, which was really bad, on the opposite end. So good collaboration. We appreciate the work you guys did too. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, and then that's it for questions. We do have a table, so feel free to come talk to us during the breaks.